Continuing to field more questions here for USMLE. I have a student who's asking if he should do UWorld twice. He's in his final month. He knows I have talked about covering the NBME exams late, but he's worried about not doing UWorld twice because his friends have said that he needs to do it. Okay, I mean, this is a classic question I get. It's almost a parody. OMG, UWorld twice, holy shit. I will address this question. So before we get started, please subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Give the video a like. Really appreciate it. Find me on Instagram at Mehlman_medical, MEHLMAN_medical. The link is down below. Find me on Telegram. Recently created a Telegram group and channel. Links are down below. Now start the clip. So the student wants to know whether he should do UWorld twice. And I've made prior clips on this stuff that doing UWorld twice overall is a bad fucking idea, okay? And it's not because I romanticize this notion that doing UWorld twice is quote-unquote bad for whatever subjective reason. It's the fact that you need to focus on the NBME exams. If you've finished UWorld once, then the general sequence that enables the greatest score augmentation is, okay, well, you're ready to start memorizing the NBME material, okay? It's not cookie cutter for every student. If you're EG in first year and you've already finished UWorld because, you know, you've been doing that alongside your classes and you're far out from the step one and we could incorporate other Q banks prior to the NBMEs, fine, okay? I mean, there's going to be variation. But when we talk about the general propensity for students to finish UWorld and then they're like, okay, here we go, I'm gonna do UWorld twice. Instead, you want to make sure you've got NBMEs 20 through 30 down. If you are at pass level for step one already by the time you finish UWorld, and without even, you could sit NBME 20 offline to gauge where you are as far as incorrects. If you get more than 65% correct, generally, there's bootleg scales on Reddit that you can look at your number of incorrects versus what subjective, or I should say, what objective score that would turn out to be based on a best fit line on a graph. If you're at pass level following your first pass of UWorld, you need to transition into the NBME exams. If a student is still doing pretty shitty score-wise, e.g. 40s, 50% correct in UWorld, that's it, and wants to know what to do next, we could sit NBME 20 offline, and then when the student gets a shitty-ass score that's not passing, rather than just going through the NBME exams, I usually tend to incorporate a second Q bank such as USMLE RX at that point, just to continue building foundation before going into the NBME exams. So rather than doing UWorld twice, okay, it's unique questions that you need to do, and USMLE RX, the questions are more simplified, all right? So UWorld, and then if you're passing, I want you to go into NBMEs 20 through 30. You're going to screenshot all of your incorrects into a Word document, save as a PDF/PowerPoint. Some students like to screenshot into Anki. I had success with one student in particular earlier this year who really wanted to make Anki cards that way. Okay, I'll actually make a separate clip on that. But the point is, you're going to screenshot all of your incorrects from NBMEs 20 through 30. Save as a giant PDF, and you're going to review those questions prior to your exam. That's the general sequence for how to sit the step one, okay? And if you're not passing UWorld following the first pass, rather than doing a second pass, I want you doing USMLE RX because it's a much more simplified Q bank. It's about learning the high yield concepts without all of the unnecessary finesse. It's not about lengthy questions with superfluous explanations that are overly fancy. It's a matter of just, okay, you did UWorld once, you're still not passing. You need to just hammer down the fucking concepts with simplification and just bang out RX at higher volume per day. Generally 80 per day. Different for every student. But 80 per day if you've already finished UWorld once and you want to get the step one out of the way, but you're still not passing. But as I've made prior clips on, prior to your USMLE, during dedicated in particular, you need to make sure you have about a month to do NBMEs 20 through 30, okay? And then if you're studying for step two, of course, actually, if you're studying for step two, you probably didn't make it this far in the clip because I've been talking about step one this whole time, but you would do NBMEs 6 through 11, and then as well as the clinical mastery series, you need to really hammer those out after you finish UWorld. And if you've been doing those questions alongside rotations to ace your shelves, then yes, you could just reinforce those questions after you finish UWorld, essentially a second or third pass of those NBME/CMS questions. because your 2CK score is really going to fucking matter. So there's no excuses for not doing assiduous, redundant review of the 2CK material, especially since that 2CK score has so much emphasis now. So the short answer is no to doing UWorld twice. Some students will get emotional about that point of view because UWorld has the branding. It's understandable. But if you've already finished the QBank and your scores are still shitty, as I said, I want you on USMLE RX prior to NBMEs 20-30. And if you're already passing UWorld, just go straight into the NBMEs. You know the deal. I'm going to continue to make more content. If you like my stuff, subscribe to my channel. And I appreciate your time. That's it.